Why Americans can work their whole lives and still struggle to save. Behind the American dream, there is a fear most people never talk about. The fear of working your whole life and still not having enough. Not enough to rest. Not enough to feel safe. Not enough to stop worrying about the next bill. This is not a story about laziness. This is not a story about people who refuse to work. This is not a story about luxury spending. This is a story about an ordinary man named David. David is 42 years old. He has worked since he was 19. He has never been rich. He has never tried to look rich. He does not dream about private jets, mansions, or luxury cars. David's dream is much smaller. He wants a quiet home, a reliable car, a little money saved, a family that feels safe, and someday, a retirement that does not feel like a warning. That is all. But every year, David tells himself the same thing. This year, I will finally save more. And every year, life answers him the same way. Not yet. A bill arrives. A tire breaks. Rent goes up. A medical appointment costs more than expected. Groceries become more expensive. A credit card balance refuses to disappear. And the money David thought he was saving quietly leaves again. This is the hidden fear behind modern American life. The fear that you can work hard, follow the rules, stay responsible, and still feel like you are standing in the same place. From the outside, David's life looks normal. He wakes up before sunrise. He makes coffee in a small kitchen. He checks his phone. He sees the time. He gets dressed for work. He drives through morning traffic with thousands of other people doing the same thing. To anyone watching from the outside, David is fine. He has a job. He has a car. He has a place to live. He pays his bills. He is not homeless. He is not starving. He is not giving up. But inside David's mind, another story is playing. Rent is due next week. The car insurance is higher this month. The credit card payment is coming. His daughter needs new shoes. The refrigerator has been making a strange sound, and his savings account has only enough money to survive one small emergency. Maybe two, but not three, and definitely not a real crisis. That is the part most people do not see. David is not afraid of working. He is afraid that working may never be enough. When David was younger, he believed the path was simple. Work hard, earn more, save money, buy a house, build a future. That was the promise he heard everywhere. It was not always spoken directly, but it was always there, in movies, in advertisements, in family conversations, in the idea of the American dream. If you keep going, life will eventually open. So David kept going. At 22, he worked long hours and told himself he was just getting started. At 27, he got a better job and thought life would finally become easier. At 32, he had more responsibility, more bills, and less time. At 37, he realized he was earning more money than before, but somehow feeling the same pressure. By 42, David understood something painful. Making more money does not always mean getting ahead. Sometimes it only means surviving a more expensive life. His paycheck became larger, but so did everything else. Rent became larger. Groceries became larger. Insurance became larger. Car repairs became larger. Healthcare became larger. Debt payments became larger. The number on the paycheck changed, but the feeling did not. David still checked his bank account before buying simple things. David still felt nervous when an envelope arrived in the mail. David still did mental math in the grocery store aisle. David still wondered how people around him seemed to be doing better. And that is where the fear becomes quiet. Because David does not want to complain. He knows other people have problems too. He knows many families are struggling. He knows he should be grateful for what he has. But gratitude does not erase pressure. A person can be grateful and still be tired. A person can have a job and still feel fragile. A person can smile in public and still panic in private. That is David's life. A life that looks stable from a distance. But up close, everything depends on nothing going wrong. And something always goes wrong. One month, David finally saved $600. It feels good. Not life-changing, but good. For the first time in a while, he feels a small amount of space, a little breathing room. Then the car starts shaking on the highway. At first, David ignores it. He turns the radio down and listens. Maybe it is nothing. Maybe it will go away. But it does not go away. A mechanic looks at the car and gives him the number. $780. David laughs softly, but it is not a happy laugh. It is the kind of laugh people make when they already know the answer. He pays. The car works again. The savings disappear. And David goes back to zero. This is one of the most painful cycles in ordinary life. Build, lose, build, lose, build again, lose again. The money never stays long enough to become safety. It only waits for the next problem. Here is what most people miss. Saving money is not only about discipline, it is about margin. Margin is the space between what you earn and what life costs. If the space is wide, saving feels possible. If the space is narrow, saving feels like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. David can be careful. He can skip restaurants. He can make coffee at home. He can avoid vacations. He can keep the same phone. He can wear the same jacket for years. He can compare prices at the store. He can say no to small pleasures. But if rent, food, transportation, insurance, debt, and emergencies take almost everything, discipline alone cannot create a miracle. That is the dark truth. Many people are not failing because they are careless. They are struggling because there is not enough space between income and survival. For David, the month has a rhythm. Paycheck arrives, relief, bills arrive, pressure, groceries, stress, gas, calculation, unexpected cost, silence. Then David waits for the next paycheck, again and again and again. From the outside, this may not look dramatic. There is no explosion, no dramatic collapse, no single moment where everything falls apart. But that is what makes it so dangerous. The pressure is slow. It does not destroy David in one day. It wears him down over years. A little stress here, a little debt there, a little delay, a little emergency, a little shame, a little fear. Until one day, David realizes he has been working for more than 20 years and still does not feel secure. That realization is heavy, because when you are young, you can tell yourself time is on your side. When you are older, time starts asking questions. How much have you saved? How long can you keep working? What happens if your body gets tired? What happens if your job changes? What happens if rent goes up again? What happens if someone gets sick? What happens if retirement arrives before the money does? David does not say these questions out loud, but he feels them at night, in traffic, at work, at the kitchen table, especially at the kitchen table. Because the kitchen table is where real American financial life often happens. Not in banks, not in business meetings, not in inspirational videos. At the kitchen table, with bills spread out, with a calculator open, with a cup of coffee going cold, with someone asking, "Can we pay this now, or should we wait?" That is where David sits. He looks at the numbers: rent, electricity, car payment, insurance, credit card, food, phone, internet, medicine, school expenses, gas, minimum payment, another minimum payment. He subtracts one number after another, and when he reaches the end, the amount left is so small it almost feels insulting. This is what people mean when they say they live paycheck to paycheck. It does not always mean they have no money at all. It means their money is already assigned before they can breathe. Every dollar has a job before it arrives. Some dollars go to rent. Some go to debt. Some go to food. Some go to transportation. Some go to insurance. Some go to emergencies. And the future gets whatever is left. The problem is, the future often gets almost nothing. David knows he should save for retirement. He knows he should have an emergency fund. He knows he should pay down debt faster. He knows he should invest. He knows all the advice. That is another hidden frustration. Many struggling people are not ignorant. They know what they are supposed to do. They just cannot always afford to do it. Advice sounds simple when there is margin. It sounds cruel when there is none. Save more. Invest earlier. Build an emergency fund. Stop using credit cards. Buy a home. Plan ahead. David hears all of it, and he does not disagree. But inside he asks one quiet question. With what money? That question is not an excuse. It is the center of the story. Because before David can build wealth, he has to survive the month. Before he can invest for the future, he has to pay for the present. Before he can save, he has to stop the past from taking his paycheck. And the past has many names: credit card balance, student loan, medical bill, car loan, late fee, emergency repair. Debt is the past reaching into the present. And for many Americans, the past gets paid before the future gets a chance. David has a credit card balance that began years ago. Not from one big luxury purchase, from small emergencies, a grocery run when money was tight, a car repair before payday, a medical copay, a few weeks when hours were cut, a child's school expense. At first, it felt temporary. He told himself he would pay it off soon. But soon became next month. Next month became next year. And now the balance is part of his life. Every month, David pays. Every month, the balance moves slower than he hoped. It is like trying to escape a shadow. This is where the story becomes painful. Because debt does not only take money, it takes confidence. It makes people feel behind before the month begins. It makes the paycheck feel smaller. It turns the future into something that must wait. David is not only paying for today, he is paying for yesterday. And while he pays for yesterday, tomorrow keeps getting closer. Then there is housing. For David, housing is the biggest bill. The home is supposed to be the safe place, the place where work ends, the place where the body relaxes, the place where family gathers. But when housing costs too much, the safe place becomes a source of pressure. David loves his home, but he also fears the next rent increase. He knows that one letter from the landlord can change the entire budget. One increase can erase his savings plan. One increase can force a move. One increase can turn a manageable life into a desperate one. That is why housing is not just a bill. It is an emotional anchor. When housing feels stable, life feels more stable. When housing feels uncertain, everything feels uncertain. David sometimes imagines owning a home, not a mansion, not a dream house from a movie, just a modest place with a small yard. A place where he can stop worrying about rent going up every year. A place where his family can stay. A place that feels like progress. But when he looks at home prices, down payments, interest rates, insurance, repairs, and taxes, the dream feels far away. Not impossible, but far. And far is painful when you have already been walking for 20 years. This is one of the deepest emotional shifts in modern American life. For many people, the dream is no longer becoming rich. The dream is breathing room. A month without panic. A repair that does not destroy the budget. A medical bill that does not become a crisis. A savings account that survives more than one emergency. A retirement plan that feels real. A weekend where rest does not come with guilt. David does not want everything. He wants enough. But enough keeps moving. Healthcare is another part of David's fear. He does not think about it every hour, but it is always in the background. An appointment, a prescription, a deductible, a bill that arrives weeks later, a cost he did not expect. David knows that getting sick can affect more than the body. It can affect the budget. It can affect work. It can affect debt. It can affect savings. It can affect the whole family. So sometimes he waits. He tells himself the pain is probably nothing. He tells himself he will go next week. He tells himself he is too busy. But underneath those excuses is another question. How much will it cost? This is not about blaming doctors, nurses, hospitals, or patients. People in healthcare work hard and help millions of families every day. This is about the fear that ordinary people feel when care and costs meet in the same room. For David, one medical issue could change everything. Not because he has nothing, but because he does not have enough protection. That is the strange part. People do not need to be completely broke to feel afraid. They only need to know that one crisis can push them backward. And David knows. Then there is family. David is not only trying to save for himself, he is trying to protect people he loves. His child needs shoes. His partner needs help. His parents are getting older. A relative may need support. A birthday comes. A school fee comes. A holiday comes. A family emergency comes. Love is beautiful. But love can also be expensive. And David does not want to say no to everyone. He does not want to become cold. He does not want his family to feel like a burden. So he gives what he can. Sometimes money, sometimes time, sometimes energy he does not have. And then he looks at his own savings and wonders why it is not growing. But the answer is right there. His money has too many jobs. It must pay bills, handle debt, feed the family, keep the car moving, protect against illness, prepare for retirement, respond to emergencies, help loved ones, and somehow still grow. That is a lot to ask from one paycheck. By now, David is tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes. The deeper kind. The kind that comes from years of calculation. He calculates at the grocery store. He calculates at the gas pump. He calculates before accepting an invitation. He calculates before calling a repairman. He calculates before taking a day off. He calculates before going to the doctor. He calculates before buying something his child needs. And over time, constant calculation becomes a way of life. This is the part that numbers do not fully show. Financial pressure is not only financial, it is emotional. It changes how people breathe. It changes how people sleep. It changes how people dream. When David was younger, he dreamed about the future. Now he often plans for the next problem. That is what survival mode does. It shrinks time. Instead of thinking about 10 years from now, David thinks about next Friday. Instead of thinking about wealth, he thinks about rent. Instead of thinking about freedom, he thinks about not falling behind. And slowly, the future becomes smaller. But here is the twist. David has not given up. That is what makes the story powerful. He still goes to work. He still pays what he can. He still tries to save. He still wants better. He still believes life can improve. But his hope is quieter now. More cautious, less innocent. He no longer believes every problem will disappear if he just works harder. Because he has worked harder. He has stayed late. He has taken extra shifts. He has skipped things he wanted. He has repaired instead of replaced. He has waited instead of buying. He has done what responsible people are told to do. And still, security feels just out of reach. This is the dark truth behind the question. Why can Americans work their whole lives and still struggle to save? Because working earns money. But life decides how much of that money stays. And for David, life keeps taking pieces away. A little through rent, a little through debt, a little through health care, a little through transportation, a little through groceries, a little through emergencies, a little through family needs, a little through time. No single thing destroys him, but many small things keep him from rising. That is why this fear is so hard to explain. It is not one villain. It is not one bill. It is not one bad month. It is a cycle. And cycles are difficult because they feel normal after a while. David gets used to stress. He gets used to being behind. He gets used to saying, maybe next month. He gets used to delaying. He gets used to carrying pressure quietly. Until one day, he realizes that survival has become his lifestyle. And that is when the American dream changes shape. It no longer looks like wealth. It looks like peace. It looks like a full refrigerator, a paid bill, a working car, a safe home, a small emergency fund, a night without fear, a future that does not collapse because of one bad week. For many Americans, that is the new dream, not luxury. Breathing room, David still wants to believe in progress. But he has learned that progress is not just about motion. You can move every day and still not move forward. You can work every week and still not build wealth. You can earn money and still have nothing left. You can look stable and still feel one emergency away from starting over. That is the fear most people never talk about. Not the fear of work, the fear of endless work. Not the fear of bills, the fear that bills will always win. Not the fear of being poor, the fear of doing everything right and still never feeling safe. At the end of another long day, David comes home. He takes off his shoes. He sits at the kitchen table. The house is quiet. The bills are still there. The calculator's still there. The future's still waiting. He opens his banking app. For a few seconds, he says nothing. Then he closes it. Not because he does not care, because he already knows. Tomorrow morning, he will wake up again. He will go to work again. He will keep trying again. And maybe that's the saddest part. David is not broken. David is not lazy. David is not hopeless. David is simply tired from carrying a dream that keeps getting heavier. So there are 3 truths to take away. First, many Americans struggle to save not because they refuse to work, but because the cost of normal life can consume the paycheck before the future gets a turn. Second, debt, housing, healthcare, transportation, family needs, and emergencies can turn saving into a painful cycle of building and losing, building and losing, building and losing. Third, the deepest fear is not that hard work has no value. The deepest fear is that hard work may no longer guarantee safety. And that is the fear behind David's story. A man can work for decades and still feel fragile. A family can look normal and still be one emergency away from starting over. A country can be full of opportunity and still be full of pressure. Behind the American dream, there is a fear most people never talk about. The fear of working your whole life and still not having enough to rest. This is America's Hidden Fears. The fears America hides, the truths we reveal.